That's why we ride a piece of wood. Like what that does to somebody's spirit. Mid90s is directed by Jonah Hill and starring Suljic, Katherine Waterston, Lucas Hedges, Na-Kel Smith, Olan Prenatt, Galicia, and Ryder McLaughlin. As usual, there will not be any plot spoilers in this review. This film centers around a group of teenagers in the mid-90s who are skateboard enthusiasts whose lives pretty much revolve around the activity of skateboarding. And the film specifically focuses on the youngest boy in the group, whose name is Stevie. He is the one whose journey we are seeing. He is really trying to find his place in the world and trying to find a sense of identity, and he finds it within this group of friends that he now has. And we watch him go on this journey. We watch him see the ups and downs of what it's like to grow up as a teenager. Jonah Hill is probably someone you are very familiar with. He is an actor who has been nominated for 2 Oscars. He has also been in a host of very popular movies, and he has now made the transition from acting to directing. He had directed a few short things early on in his career, but this is his first attempt at making a feature-length film. And the film is really good in many of its aspects. I think for a first-time director, for somebody trying it out or attempting to do it, he does a really good job at it. And the film is really small in scope when it just comes to the overall plot and the overall story, but what it is trying to say universally, I think, is rather profound in many ways. Like I said, the film centers around the young boy who's about 13 years old. His name is Stevie, and he has a mother portrayed by Katherine Waterston, who's a really loving, kind of almost over-loving mother. He has a rather contentious relationship with an older brother portrayed by Lucas Hedges, who is now apparently in so many different movies. His career is really blowing up, and for the small role he had in this movie, I thought he did a fantastic job. But Suljic is the one who really carries this movie. He is the one who we are seeing going through all of the trials and tribulations of a young teenager, especially someone as young as 13, who's really just stepped into those teenage years, which can be tumultuous. And the film also shows the differences in philosophies and the differences in personalities within the group of friends that he has. And it's really accurate to life how you're going to run into a group of friends or have many friends, and they're going to all be different, but yet they're all going to be able to come together and have one common bond. And in this movie, the common bond is skateboarding. And skateboarding for these kids is a way for them not only to have a hobby or something they love, but it's a way for them to escape the different issues that they have and problems that they have in their lives. And Stevie is trying to be a part of this group, but he's also trying to adopt all of the traits of all of the kids. And sometimes a lot of those traits don't quite mesh with one another, but he is, like all of us at that age, just trying things out to see where things go. And of course, there can be negative aspects to that. You can adopt certain traits that aren't good. You can use language that isn't exactly great language to be using, not only at 13, but really ever. It really captures this kind of wildness of the mid-90s, or the 90s in general, where it wasn't a very politically correct culture. I remember growing up in the 90s, and a lot of the things that we were exposed to, a lot of the things that were said, were things that probably wouldn't fly in culture today, or be said by many kids today. But what the movie really captures is that mid-90s vibe. It has a great soundtrack. It has all of the clothing style that was popular at the time. The film is also unique because it is shot in a 1:3:1 4:3 full screen aspect ratio to really give you that sense of the 90s, to really give you that sense of what the 90s looked like. And also the film used a really interesting kind of almost camcorder-esque filter to give the film that specific vibe for that specific time, and it all really worked. You felt like you were transported back into that time. And another positive aspect I have is, surprisingly, a lot of the young actors in this movie, this is their first foray into acting in movies, or this is a film that's really early on in their careers. Like, they don't really have much when it comes to credits in their filmographies, and I thought they all did a fantastic job. There is one young actor in this movie, Na-Kel Smith, who is kind of the leader or the alpha of the group. He's someone that all the kids look up to, and he is just phenomenal in this movie at certain points where he's has to give these rather long monologues and things like that. Of course, you have a veteran anchor in Katherine Waterston, who is a really good actress in my opinion, and I thought for the small sequence that she had in this movie, I thought she was really good. When it comes to the negatives I have of this movie, there are a few aspects of the movie that I really wish were further explored. I really wish that the relationship between Stevie and his mom was further explored. The relationship between Stevie and his brother were further explored, because I felt that there was so much there to mine that was just left untouched that I really thought would bolster the movie and give the film more dramatic weight, make the film a little more heavy, and make the film a little more profound, because I think Jonah Hill is going for a certain level of profoundness that he doesn't quite reach, that I really felt the film lacked an extra punch that I was waiting for. And also, the film is rather graphic when it comes to not only the language, but certain things that the kids get into, which may be a negative for some, but yet again, it is very authentic to the way kids grow up, not only in the 90s, but to the way the kids grow up now. Even more so, kids are exposed to so much more now than they were back then, but it is very interesting to see how closely related the generations are. Another unique aspect I had with the film is that it's a very loose-fitting plot. The film isn't quite interconnected very tightly, but in a way it works for the movie because we're seeing how just disassociated kids can be while growing up. You know, there's not a lot of concreteness and foundations for a lot of the kids in this movie when it comes to their lives, so therefore their lives are rather loose, and we just kind of see things float from one scene to the next. Although there is a through line and there is a progression throughout the plot. So with all that being said, I'm going to give this film a 3.8 out of 5 stars. It is a really strong directorial debut from Jonah Hill. The young actors I thought were fantastic. I really dig the vibe and authenticity this film gave up, depicting the 90s. Some of the negatives I have are just a screenplay that I thought could have been further bolstered by delving into a lot of the stronger thematic themes. But I do highly recommend this film. I know it's a smaller indie film that maybe isn't playing in your area, so perhaps you can check it out later when it comes to streaming or DVD and Blu-ray. So that has been my review of Mid-90s. If you like this video, please check out the other videos on my channel.